The 5 habits that separate the wealthy from everyone else. Welcome to the Sharp Mind Show, episode 102. I'm Nate, Fit Future MD, your host, your life coach. Be sure to check out Instacell.com, pick you up a cool, inspirational t-shirt today. So let's get right into it. What do I talk about? I talk about mindset, skill set, and habits, right? So that indicates that there are habits that separate the wealthy from the not wealthy, right? And so what we want to do is we want to emulate the habits that are helping the wealthy become wealthy and get rid of the habits that are keeping you poor, right? Or keeping you struggling in life, right? And so that's what we're doing, right? So here we go. The 5 habits that separate the wealthy from everyone else. Number 1 is they think long term, right? Wealth is built over decades, not months. Okay. So when you think about this, so you get into the debate of, you know, are you going to think long term, right? Are you going to say, okay, I'm not going to get rich today, but if I'm not going to build a wall today, but if I stack one brick a day for 10 years, eventually there'll be a wall there, right? And so that's basically what you're doing to become wealthy, right? That's the 100% sure plan way to become wealthy is to think long term, right? So um, even if you're investing in real estate, you're investing in stocks, whatever you're investing in, right? You're going to think over a long time horizon, right? Um, so, you have a town right now, but in 20 years, with all the population from everywhere else coming to your location, what would that town look like? Where would the epicenter be, right? The epicenter used to be in downtowns and all these towns, and now it's 10 minutes west or 10 minutes east or 10 minutes south or 10, that's where the epicenters move to, right? And so you want to be a part of that movement. You want to be a part of that growth of your city, right? And so you think long term and say, okay, well, I'm going to buy 5 acres of land out here and we're going to hold it for 10 years and see what happens. That's thinking long term, right? And so that's the number one habit of the wealthy, right? It's not waking up early. It's not cold plunging and all this red light therapy and all this other crap that's been pushed out right now. Is thinking long term. Number one. All right. Number two, uh, the second habit that separates the wealthy from everyone else is investing first, spending second. Right. Whatever money that you make, you put it to assets first, and the asset that your money that makes money off the asset is what you live on, right? So I like dividend stocks in this way, right? So like, if I buy a share of Ford stock, I know that I'm going to get a 5% return on that money that year, right? And so if you buy $1,000 worth of stock, you're going to be getting a $50 return on that automatic, whether the stock goes up or down, right? And so that's an extra meal, right? So you could take your family out on a $50 extra meal, right? Just from that one investment. And so when you think about that, investing first, spending second, you do that for 10 years. Now all of a sudden that is $500, right? And so that's a trip. That's a car payment. That's, whatever. Um, let's say so you're thinking the long term and then investing first, spending second, right? And so some people call this paying yourself first. And so that's how I do it. I automatically take out what's supposed to be taken out. 15% of your income automatically gets taken out and invested. And then we live on the rest. And we don't have to worry about whether we spend all the money of the rest, right? We can just spend it because we've already invested. All right. So uh, keep that in mind as you're thinking about habits that wealthy people do that you don't, right? All right. And so the third habit that separates the wealthy from everyone else is they read and they learn constantly. knowledge compounds just like money does, right? And so now this has obviously shifted for me a lot. I still read, but I don't read as much as I did, in my 20s, because everything has become, video based, right? Because people can teach something once and make money off the video easier than, people don't buy books now, right? So it's, writing a book is much more difficult than making a video. And so, and money and knowledge changes so fast now with AI, right? So to keep up with AI, you have to watch videos, you have to, you know, but you basically are going to read and learn, right? And so that's a habit that you're going to do every day. You want to learn something every day. You want your vocabulary to increase every day. And honestly, if you're not around people that are increasing what you learn every day, then that's a problem that and can definitely negatively impact your life. Um, so keep that in mind as well. You know, um, there are people that have been successful in the business that you want to be in, and they've written books. And it's, let's say, so one of the books that I've read is Elon Musk's book, right? And basically he comes around and says, I cut until it doesn't work anymore, and then I put whatever I just cut last back in. And so he's done that for all his businesses. And so that's why his margins are so much higher than everybody else, and why his stocks sell for a lot higher, sell for a PE ratio a lot higher, um, is because he's done that, right? He's gone through every step of the process and cut everything, and it's literally as cheap as you can make that section of the process, right? So, and that's why his businesses are so successful, right? So you read and you learn constantly, and you'll always be ahead of the game, right? And so, sometimes you read and learn constantly so much that you're actually so ahead that you're too early. So keep that in mind as well. That's happened before too. So, um, all right. And the fourth habit that separates the wealthy from everyone else is they control their emotions around money, right? No panic selling, no impulse spending, right? So, you'll see this a lot, right? Like, you know, something happens here, something happens there. People have to sell their investment to, buy this or do this, or, the new Gucci thing comes out, and, they go out and they purchase that immediately. They go to a store, and this thing's on sale. So they buy that, the impulse spending. Wealthy people don't have impulse spending. They have a budget, right? And they stay within that budget. And so, like I say, I make all my stuff automatic, right? So I don't have to worry about, necessarily impulse spending. I'm just not going to go over this amount, whatever that amount is, for that month, right? And so, if that's 7,000 that month, 10,000 that month, whatever it is, um, you know, it's not technically it's impulse spending, but you're staying within your budget on your impulse spending, right? And so you got to take out having to be so disciplined out of things, in my opinion. So then you don't have to worry about emotion. You don't have to worry about that kind of stuff. Um, if you're thinking on a long term horizon, and so say you buy Apple stock at 200 and it drops to 150, you're not going to panic sell that Apple stock, because in 10 years that Apple is going to be printing money or whatever. Um, I do think, though, however, that it is beneficial in life to know when to sell something, right? So, for instance, if you see a company come out with a better product, and it's actually getting, so like when you back in the day with BlackBerry and I versus iPhone was destroying BlackBerry, and if you got the BlackBerry at that time and you knew that it was messing up, you knew that they went to China to make their product and it messed up, you knew Apple was going to win this race if you were paying attention. And so you would have known to sell BlackBerry, to sell Nokia, to sell all those things, right? You can see the disruption in the market. So if something is disrupting the product that you are long term on, you have to know when to sell something, right? So I do think that is something true, but that's not panic selling. That's not impulse spending. That's something else, right? So keep that in mind as well. All right, and so one of the last habits that separates the wealthy from one of the last habits that separates the wealthy from everyone else is cap is taking calculated risks. Okay, you have to understand that opportunity requires action. Okay, so keep that in mind. Um, you're not going to go through life without some kind of scar, right? You're going to make a bad decision. You're going to make the wrong thing. Um, I'll go ahead and give you an example from my stock market days. Like I was really big on this company called Lumen. They had bought CenturyLink and all this other stuff from here, and I thought for sure that they would update their broadband and all that kind of stuff, and because they were down on their luck. I saw that they were down to $10 a share, shooting off 8% dividends, and I thought for sure that they would keep the dividend and be able to come back no problem. And what they ended up doing was they cut the dividend and the stock dropped out, right? And so all these ETFs and stuff that were holding it because it was a dividend, they had to sell that stock, right? And so um, you know, but that's still a calculated risk, right? I still took, a small percentage, less than 5% of what I'm investing into that stock. And so even though it went down, I still didn't lose everything, right? But I took that calculated risk saying, okay, this stock is going to come back and compete. And it just ended up not working out, right? So, but that happens all the time, right? If you invest enough times, you have a certain thing you're looking for, and 9 out of 10 times it works, or 8 out of 10 times it works. Two of those 10 are not going to work, right? And so if you're playing baseball and 8 out of 10 of your stuff works and two of them don't, I feel like you're doing really, really well. Because in baseball, if you hit 3 out of 10, you're doing amazing, right? So in life, it's very similar too, right? And so that's kind of the stuff that I believe in as well. But that being said, right, what are some of the ones that I haven't listed here that I do every day, right? So, and I said I wake up early, right? So I believe that um, if high individuals are even, the one that wakes up earlier and works longer is going to have a little bit more of an advantage, even if it's not that much of an advantage, right? What people worry about with that is they worry that they're going to waste their life away, right? They're going to waste their life away waking up early, and that it'll hinder their work maybe if they don't get enough sleep, right? But I can attest that that is not the case, right? So I do believe in waking up early. There are wealthy individuals, high wealth individuals that do not wake up early. They'll wake up at 7, 8 o'clock, and you know, I'll also say, say stuff like this, like don't let what you did the day before affect the next day, right? So that is one of the main reasons not to do drugs, not to drink, not to do any of that kind of stuff, because those things can affect your next day, right? So for instance, I had a podcast this morning, where daylight savings times change now, right? So instead of doing this at 4 a.m., I'm basically doing it at 3 a.m. And, you know, that would be tough if I didn't go to bed early. I didn't um, do things in a certain way, right? So keep that stuff in mind, right? Say these are just little simple things, right? You think long term. So the 5 habits that separate the wealthy from everyone, that they think long term, They invest first, spend second. They read and constantly learn. They control emotions around money, no panic selling, no impulse spending, and they take calculated risks, right? Um, you know, they so that's the way you get wealthy, right? And I add in an extra one, which is wake up early, right? And I concentrate on health. So when I wake up early, I'm concentrating on health. Because if you're not healthy, then you can't do anything, right? So keep that in mind. But let me know what you think of these 5 habits. What habits would you add? And the extra ones I gave you as well. Um, this episode was brought to you by Dylan and Davina, The Adventure Begins, which is my wife's children's book. So if you haven't checked out that, please check that out on Amazon.com. She is the best-selling author on Amazon of London and the Googly Goo. If you haven't checked that one out, be sure to check that one out too. I'm Nate, and I'm a life coach. So if you need help setting up your habits so that you can become wealthy and you can become successful, then hit me up in the DM for life coaching, and I'll see if I can help you. It's a 2 year, 100% guarantee, 100% money back guarantee. So if I don't, 1 year, sorry. It's a 1 year, 100% money back guarantee. If I can't help you within 1 year, then you get your money back. So make sure you sign up for that. And go to InstaSale.com, pick up a cool inspirational t-shirt. Believe we are on the wolf shirt right now, so which is pretty cool. But be sure to check that out. Appreciate you guys for watching. Thanks for the 3 guys that are on right now. Really appreciate y'all watching live early in the morning. But we'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.